Today I wanted to go over the top 5 fish that I've ever had and actually would consider revisiting. When it comes to fish keeping, this whole time that I've been actually in the hobby, I've been very interested in characins, right? Like the toothy tetras, whether it be exodon, whether it be barracuda, whether it be pike characins. I'm very into those crazy looking tetras and streamlined fish like the family characin. Throughout this whole time keeping fish, I've had almost all the characins I've ever wanted. But today I'm going to go over my top 5 fish. Some of them, most of them are characins, but some of them are not characins. Let's take a look. In the past, I've kept all kinds of characins, cichlids, live bears, you name it. Ancient fish, kept them. But I've always had a thing for characins, and that's why I always come back to characins. It's just something about them that intrigues me. It's the aggressive nature of them. It's the looks that they have. So today we're going to go over my top 5 fish that I've ever had in the past that I would actually consider revisiting in the future. Let's do it. So when I first started fish keeping, I've always looked into keeping fish like the African tigerfish, the Goliath tigerfish, the Vitatus tigerfish, those streamlined monster fish that you see on river monsters and things like that. But when it came down to actually having a tank for them, I was very limited. I couldn't keep these kinds of fish because they would definitely outgrow whatever tank I had. You need like a huge pond for these kind of fish, right? So I found an alternative at that point. Right before I kept this specific fish, I've actually got a school of exodons. Exodons being very vicious, very quick, streamlined, the perfect mini predator, right? The perfect mini monster. It'll destroy fish and of all sizes, pick them to death. And when I had this specific group of exodons, I immediately fell in love with the next fish. It's a red-tailed barracuda, also known as the Ace F, right? The Acelon phallus something barracuda, whatever. I just call it the Ace barracuda. There's the yellow variant, there's the red variant, but in my case, I had the red variant. It's a little smaller species, kind of less aggressive, but it held that streamlined, aggressive look. One of the main reasons why I like the red-tailed barracuda is because it kind of resembles a mini ATF, a mini African tigerfish. In a lot of cases where we can't have a giant monster, you would kind of look for an alternative, like mini versions. So this was my alternative ATF, and it didn't hurt that it was cheaper too. Another thing I liked about this specific fish is that its teeth were consistent throughout his whole jaw, and it was protruding. Nevertheless, its jaw was huge. Biting power for this fish, it looked pretty crazy. Also, this fish also comes at a very bearable size, right? This isn't a fish that would get 2 feet, 3 feet. This is a fish that would get maybe around a foot in length, if you're lucky. This is a very bearable sized predator, and you can keep it in somewhat smaller confined tanks just because it won't outgrow it. Also, this fish is somewhat non-aggressive. Even though I've had this fish fight huge eddigars, I've had this fish fight pike characins, if it doesn't feel like picking on something, it won't pick on something. It's not as aggressive as other toothy characins. It's not going to be out picking fights. They're not aggressive at all, to be honest. The only time I've seen my barracuda attack another fish is when another fish picks on it. I'm going to name one bad thing about this specific fish though. This is one of the hardest fish I've ever had to wean off of live foods. All my fish, especially my predators, I always wean them off of live foods because I don't want to introduce parasites and diseases into my tanks. I want to be able to provide a healthy environment for my fish. So I never feed live foods unless the fish is damn near about to die. The next fish on the list is the Giardini arowana. It's not a characin. Actually it's an ancient fish, right? But I love this fish. It's the best arowana you can get in America. Things I like about the Giardini is the body resembles the body of an Asian arowana, right? With the silver arowanas and the black arowanas, the tail is very streamlined. With the Giardinis, it pretty much looks like the body shape of an Asian arowana, but you can tell it's not an Asian arowana. It's the closest thing we can get to an Asian arowana, so I'm gonna like it. The Giardini is a great solo fish. It readily eats anything. It's awesome with plants, and typically it's a very ornamental fish. It's a fish that you will have in your tank on display, and everyone will already know what it is. If you're a fish keeper in the hobby, you will know what an arowana is. And the last thing I like about this fish is that it's active. It's always swimming, and it just paces back and forth and back and forth. Nothing boring about this fish. This fish is just chilling, swimming around all over your tank. All over your tank. A lot of people think arowanas only chill at the top, but Giardini specifically, the one I had, was swimming top level, bottom level, anywhere it wanted to. The only downside I've ever had with the Giardini is the fact that it was one of the most aggressive fish I've ever had towards other fish. I've had it kill food and not even eat it, just kill it for fun. This fish actually used to bite my tongs. I have tongs that I feed my fish with, and it's the only fish that actually strikes and bites my tongs. Besides the aggression, the Giardini is a very good fish. The next group of fish is the biker, the Polypterus, baby dinosaur. I've always came back to this fish. I've had bikers for a long, long time, and I always seem to come back to these fish. Something about them, especially when they get older, when they get bigger, they look like, from top down, they look like little alligators, and they're pretty crazy. Bikers are typically non-aggressive to bigger fish than them that they can't eat. They were one of my least aggressive predator fish. When there's a group of bikers, they develop a hierarchy within the group. There's the alpha male, or the alpha biker, and that biker basically runs the show. All the other bikers don't mess with it, all the other bikers don't fight it, and all the other bikers get out of its way. Doesn't matter if that biker is bigger than the others or smaller than the others. If it's a dominant male or dominant biker, then no one will mess with it. Once they develop that hierarchy, then everything is smooth sailing from there. No more fighting, and everyone eats. I've had 2 groups of 4 bikers, and they each had 1 dominant male. Every group I had, they fought in the beginning, then they slowed it down a little bit, and in every group I noticed that the dominant male would be the first one to food, or everyone would get out of their way. So once that dominant male, or I keep saying dominant male, so once that dominant Polypterus is found, all the aggression is gone, and you'll have a peaceful tank. Bikers are well-mannered, they eat anything, docile, and they're bulletproof. What's more not to like about bikers? And plus they're armored. The fish has armor, bro. The fish has spikes on its back, bro. It's lit. The only bad part I see about bikers is they get huge, and when they get huge, they do the dart of death. If you don't know what the dart of death is, you probably never had bikers before. When bikers get scared, they dart. They don't hide, or they don't like swim away. They literally dart. If you have bikers right now, go ahead and try and scare it real quick and see what happens. They're gonna shoot everywhere. And if you have a group of bikers, they all do the dart of death. That is insane. Can you imagine that? I'm gonna roll a clip of my old biker group, right? When I had my old bikers with my previous Pyra, I scared one biker by closing the garage door. Every biker jumped, and at least 2 bikers hit the Pyra. You'll hear Polypterus people or biker keepers tell you to get heater guards for your heaters. This is the reason why. It's not that they're gonna bite and break your heaters. They will dart and smash your heaters. They will break your heaters. Just an FYI for you guys. Get a heater guard. Or, life hack, get a PVC, drill some holes, put your heater in there. That'll protect your heater. That will save you $40. And the last group of fish, my number one fish that I've kept in the past that I would definitely consider revisiting again would be the Pyara. I love my old Pyara. It was my first fish I've ever kept in a big tank. Not big. My first tank was a 55. I came from a 10 gallon, so it's a pretty big upgrade. When I first got my 55, the only fish I wanted was the Pyara. The only fish I wanted was this vampire looking crazy fish. The species I had was a scone, the smallest version of the Pyara. When I first got it, I thought it was an Armatus. When I first bought it, I wasn't too knowledgeable of the fish itself. I just assumed that all Pyaras grow up to be like the Armatus, but in fact it was a scone, and I'm glad it was a scone. I didn't want a fish that got super big, you know. But I just got it anyways. It turned out to be a scone, and I loved it. I've heard a lot of bad things about a scone, particularly being the most sensitive Pyra out there, being very hard to take care of, being that it had a lot of requirements to keep, like fast-moving, well-oxygenated water, right? It needed to be warm water, and it needed to be pristine. The scone is the reason why I got K1 in the first place. I got K1 because it will oxygenate my water within the filter, and it shoots it back into the tank. I love the scone because of its very small size. Scones get around under a foot compared to the Armatus that gets huge. Pyras in general have huge protruding front fangs that look crazy. Whenever I had family members come over, then they come see this fish that's in my garage with huge front fangs. This is like the poster child of river monsters. The Pyara scone does well in solo environments or group environments. You can have a bunch of them together or have one solo one. They do fine. They coexist well with other predators, especially the ATF. In a lot of YouTube videos or Instagram videos of this type of fish, of this family of fish, you'll see them paired up with ATFs, right? You'll see an African tigerfish, and then you'll see a Pyra swimming together. It looks crazy. I think freshwater, these two look the most aggressive. It's those teeth, man. The one bad thing about the Pyra, specifically the scone, I don't think this is with the other Pyras, but I just think this is with the scone. Did a lot of reading, and the scones actually have a thing called a random death syndrome. If you don't know what a random death syndrome is, it's in the name, right? The specimen can die randomly, out of nowhere, whether you have bad water, whether you have pristine water, whether you're feeding it right, whether you're feeding it wrong. One day it'll just croak. That's just a thing with the scones. I've read it all over the forums, and this is something that I've always worried about. They say that this type of syndrome or this type of issue happens after a certain size. This is the only fish that I've ever had that I've been thinking about revisiting this whole time, which is nuts. Damn, I don't even know how long this video was. But yeah, since you guys stick around so long, I appreciate it. Thank you for watching, and I guess tune in for the next video. Got a little surprise for you.